Since 1898, Russell's team has been developing and innovating unique moccasin construction methods which are only practiced here, and some of those have received US patents. So what I'm going to do today is do what we've done for many years, which is cut the toe off of several of our different construction methods and explain in depth the different benefits that come with each of those. The first boot on the chopping block is a single vamp moccasin. Single vamp moccasins are more commonly what you would find in main moccasins, and what that means is you have a single layer of leather that's wrapped up from the bottom, and then you have a toe piece or plug that's placed on the top. This is actually my personal pair that my dog chewed the toe off of, so it's a perfect example of one that we can cut the toe off of and look into the interior of the boot and look at how it's constructed. Today I've got a Gransfors hatchet here. This is the Hunter's Axe model. These things are wicked sharp. They're made in Sweden, and it's absolutely one of my favorite cutting tools, so I figured it would be perfect for doing this cutting video today. Got it pretty much there. There we go. So here on the end of this shoe, what you can see is the single layer of leather that's wrapped all the way from the bottom. It wraps up to the top. And then here on the top here, what you may notice is the overlap seam. The overlap seam was developed at Russell Moccasin in 1910 and received a US patent. And what it does is, rather than having a butt seam, which is just two pieces of leather that come together and you have a stitch that joins the two, it actually wraps over the top of the vamp and provides a high level of water resistance, so you can see how tight that is there and how the water would effectively have to go through the wax stitching and into the inside of the boot, but the leather is covering that whole seam. So you can see here how well it hugs the inside edges of the foot, especially on the sides. And that flexibility is what allows it to conform to your foot so well. There's no hard edges, nothing here. It's just a single layer of leather that's wrapped and formed to fit the curvature of the bottom of your foot. The bottom of your foot is not flat. It has curves, and so a Russell moccasin is designed to fit those curves. Single vamp construction is great for daily wear. It's great because it's lightweight. It's relatively breathable. And anytime for loafers or low-cut shoes or boots like this, it gives you all that you need for daily wear. When you get into more serious use cases, that's when the more unique Russell construction methods come into play. Next up is double vamp construction. Double vamp construction is very unique because it involves an interior layer that's called an inner vamp, which is actually like a leather sock. It is a liner, but rather than like most liners where the liner gets punctured with the same needle holes as the exterior, this is put in after the fact. So we mold the vamp just like we would on a single vamp boot, which was the first one we cut in half. Once we've molded that vamp and we've actually gotten the rest of the boot sewn together, we then, before the toe seam is put in, we put the inner vamp inside the boot, which has been molded separately. And that inner vamp is used in it's a silicone tanned leather that's highly water resistant, and the seams are opposing to the seams on the exterior of the boot. So what that means is that in order for water to penetrate the interior of the boot from this point down, the seam down where that inner vamp starts, it would actually have to soak through both layers of leathers because none of the seams are the same. So the seams on the outside don't match the seams on the inside, so it would have to penetrate the outer layer leather, the layer of glue, and then the inner layer of leather, but there are no needle holes that pierce all the way through. So before we talk too much more about that, let's go ahead and cut it open. Almost through. So here on the inside of a double vamp construction, you can see that inner vamp layer, which is also molded from the bottom up. It's just like a moccasin layer. but the seam on that is on the top where there is no seam up here. And the seam over here is on the side at the very bottom where there is no seam here. So double vamp construction is one of the most water resistant ways to make an all leather boot. It gives you similar properties to a Gore-Tex boot, but what it does is that inner vamp is very, very durable. It can be replaced over time if needed, and unlike Gore-Tex, it doesn't wear out to the point where it loses its water resistance. This construction method has been used back as far as the Imperial model in the early 1900s at Russell Moccasin, and it's incredibly effective at making an all-leather boot that's incredibly durable, water resistant. It's just a fantastic construction. It's the reason that we use it in most of our outdoor boots. One of the things you'll notice is that here on the leather midsole, which will later be stitched down to a rubber midsole here on the outside, just like this pair here, and then it would be stitched, that would be glued to our rubber outsole, just like this one. What you'll notice there is that these Blake stitches, which hold the vamp, the outer layer, to the midsole, do not puncture through the interior into the inside. They puncture that outer layer, but again, the inner vamp seals that up on the inside. And again, you can notice the curvature on the sides of this boot that really hug the instep, they hug the sides of the foot, they allow the foot to move side to side. Here at the end cutoff, you can see a little bit more about where those seams come together and how that works all up underneath that outer layer. So from the exterior, a single vamp and a double vamp boot will look very similarly. It really comes down to how the interior is being put together that gives you this effect, which is incredibly hard to do because that has to be put in after everything is stitched together. But what it does is pretty incredible in the durability and the water resistance and the comfort that you get out of a double vamp Russell Moccasin. And finally, on the chopping block today, we have triple vamp, or more technically speaking, a double vamp with a molded sole. Now, double vamp with a molded sole has its place. It's no more water resistant than a double vamp boot, but double vamp with a molded sole or triple vamp construction, what it does do is it gives you the maximum level of support, of durability, because you've got another layer that's taking the brunt. It makes it easier for us to repair down the line. So in heavy use applications, so for like our mountaineering boots or boots for high country hunting, we recommend that construction method because it gives us more to build off of in the case of future rebuilds for very, very hard wearing boots that are going to experience a lot of abrasion. This is a wide one. I need a wider axe. Almost there. What you can see there is that going from the interior out, you have your inner vamp, which again, those seams are opposing so they don't get punctured from the exterior and they don't line up with any of the exterior stitchings. Then you have your vamp with your overlap toe seam, and then you have your molded sole. So you can't see it, but the molded sole stitching pierces through that vamp layer. And the reason you can't see it is obviously because the inner vamp is designed to seal those seams. So triple vamp really gives you a lot of support side to side, down low. It gives you a lot of protection from thorns, from rocks there. It gives you the water resistance of that double vamp construction. So really it's really that ultimate level if you're looking for something for incredibly demanding circumstances. And so that's why we still produce it. So it's one of those things where a lot of people confuse what we do with Maine moccasins, and it couldn't be further from the same thing. Russell Moccasin has developed all of these technologies here at Russell Moccasin over the last 126 years. Hopefully this has been some great information to show you what goes into a Russell Moccasin and how complicated they are on the inside, which you may not be able to see from the exterior, and to give you a little bit more insight on what we do here. So check us out online, check out our website. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below, and we hope you enjoyed this video. If you'd like more content like this, make sure to let us know. Have a great weekend.